Welcome to the brand new Unstoppable podcast with your host, Johnny Pierce. In this podcast, we're going to cover all you need to develop unstoppable confidence, build an unbreakable mindset, and we're going to make sure that everything that you listen to is unforgettable. We'll dissect the lessons from the people that you want to hear from, and you have access to this completely free of charge. If you like it, don't forget to share it with your friends, and I'll see you on the inside. Hi, my name is Johnny Pierce and welcome to the Unstoppable podcast. I'm incredibly excited to have our guest with us today, and we're here with Johnny Brady. So Johnny, if you give us, for anyone that doesn't know, I'm sure a lot of you do know Johnny, but if you don't know Johnny, who are you and what do you do?
Hey guys, I'm Johnny Brady. I am a country music artist from here in Northern Ireland. I'm a singer-songwriter, and it's great to be involved here at the Unstoppable podcast. It's awesome to be here.
Epic, sounds good. And so, obviously, country music star, you've done some amazing things in the scene. Tell us a bit more about how that started. What was childhood like for you, and how did you actually get involved in country music?
Well, first of all, Johnny got involved with country music, I suppose, from a very young age. My granddad James was from Castleblaney, and that would be, for a lot of country music fans here in Ireland would know of the great legend Big Tom. He was related to Tom, he was an uncle of Tom, so my granny and granddad were big country music fans, and that sort of passed on to my mum, who did a little bit of singing, not professionally now, but she loved country music. She was in like the Susan McCann fan club, things like that, and just loved like Philomena Begley, all the old country music artists from America as well, just going right back. And my dad also then was a country music fan because they were from that era where maybe they went to a country dance or even they went to a wee country tavern, had a few drinks or whatever, and loved the country music. So I got to hear a lot of that as a young lad, and my mum's two brothers were singers. They were in a band, and as I sort of grew up, I got so interested in the music, and I always wanted to be out with the lads. And at that point, sort of growing up through the 80s, they could have took me to a few gigs, even though I was sort of in my early teens, 12, 13 and 14 and things like that, and I would have lifted the gear with them and things like that. And I got my first guitar at 12, and I actually started writing songs pretty much straight away. I just had this interest in writing songs. I couldn't even come up with melodies, so I used like popular melodies that I would have known. My dad was a truck driver, so I used. He drove for a company, and when he passed his test, they gave him probably the oldest truck in the yard. Had a few different coloured doors and stuff on it. Wasn't the pride of the fleet by no means, but he was so happy to be driving this big lorry, and it was a DAF and had different colours, so I called it the DAF of many colours, which is the coat of many colours, obviously by Dolly Parton. But because I hadn't got my own melodies at that young age, I started using other melodies to get writing songs and then learning chords, and it just kind of went from strength to strength. I listened to a lot of country music. I listened to a lot of rock and pop music as well, and stuff like the Eagles and all that sort of stuff. And I eventually, when I was 15, in 91 actually, I started my first band along with my two uncles. And I learned a lot from those guys, and I learned a lot from being out gigging. So it kind of all started there for me.
And would you say, like, when you were in school, you knew, right, this is what I want to do, or did you have any ambitions to be a truck driver like your dad, or what was the plan? Like, what was the plan of action? Because nobody really knows, I'm going to wake up and do singing full time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's funny you say that, because I have a 13-year-old daughter, and we're sitting talking about this very thing last night, and we're saying, what is it you think you want to do? What are you going to do? And she doesn't really know. She has some idea, of what exams and stuff she wants to do. Unfortunately, for me at school, academically wasn't my thing. I mean, I left school at 16. I really wasn't able to read and write that well, and that's I feel embarrassed sometimes saying things like that, but I don't mind saying it so much. At the time, I remember being quite embarrassed about it, and I suppose as time went on with phones and emails and all these different things, I actually learned to read and write by that sort of by technology, really. Which and as you know me, I'm not a big technology guy as well, but so like realistically, in school, my dad was a truck driver, and I just thought, yes, I mean, it's something that I could do. I kind of like lorries and I like cars and all that kind of stuff. But really, music was something that really caught me. And I remember sitting in, he had an old Ford Granada at the time, and he had just bought a tape cassette, which is tell you how long ago this was, of the best of the Eagles.
Yeah.
And the best, I think it was a Brothers in Arms as well, was at Dire Straits. And I remember sitting out in the car just listening to that over and over. We were in Donegal on our holidays, and so it kind of does show that I just really hooked into music, and I just loved listening to the stuff. And I remember winding back and just turning the tape over and just, so it was something that I really did. And as soon as I got my first guitar at 12, I never left it down. I just sang every day, and so I really had that love and passion. I never really knew, though, at that time that I could have actually made a career and a living out of it, which was actually the most surprising thing to me, that people actually pay me to do this kind of thing, and it's amazing.
And I think that's interesting for like anyone listening to this podcast. So many people think they need to have it all figured out by their early 20s, but the reality is things can change and things can come up. And like, I didn't always know that I would do this coaching thing. For years I wanted to be a teacher, and I was studying to do that, and then I realized, well, this isn't really my passion, and it's so important to actually follow what you're passionate about. And that's exactly what Johnny's done, and we'll hear more great lessons about that. But it just shows you, growing up, he didn't wake up thinking that he was going to be a country music singer. He had other plans and other ambitions in there. Even his daughter's going through this now, and she's deciding what she wants to do. So it's okay not to have it all figured out. It's okay not to know exactly what you're going to do, but it's just important to actually follow what you're passionate about, in my opinion. So outside of that, obviously off the back of that, great success, you've been able to make this your full-time thing and all those fantastic things. I think everyone watching this will see you as an overnight success. They'll think you just made it overnight and it just became, something that happened. But I suppose there's obviously been challenges along the way. What would you say the main challenges have been, and what have you actually found difficult with your journey to where you are today?
Yeah, and I think sometimes people will look at a lot of people in that sort of overnight success sort of story because they've never really heard of that person before. But like, I'm 46 now, and I started into country music at a bigger scale at 36. So for 20 years nearly before that, I worked in bands, all different types of bands, country, rock, pop bands, just going up and down many miles to recording songs, writing songs, getting every door that opened, went in that door to see if there was another option for me there. Got really, a lot of great friends in the music business, and just, as you said, it's something that I was so passionate about, so I just followed what I was passionate about and what I really loved to do. And I think relatively the most challenging part was whenever I decided to make that jump to go into a higher sort of end, more professional, bigger band, everything was bigger. Everything then started to really cost a lot more money, and there was a lot of struggles there at the very start, where even the first few years, will I stay on the road, will I not stay on the road, can I do this, can I not do it? So I just took advice from other singers and even people throughout the country music scene that had followed other music for a long time. But I think what the best thing to do is just try and really believe in what you're doing, and really have a bit of a plan where, maybe not aim for that mountain straight away, but just try and take baby steps and try and, work. Don't, I suppose, as I said, like financially, it's such a big step, and, maybe don't get yourself in too deep so that you can never get out of it. You know what I mean? I suppose you can always change your mind, but for me, it was just baby steps, trying to pick the right songs, trying to get in with the right people, and very lucky that I did. And I love working with all the different artists. I try to keep politics well out of everything that I do, because I just really genuinely love music, and I love the country music fans as well, and I think they really helped me. But the challenges were just believing in myself, I think was a big challenge. And even as a songwriter, believing in a song that you've wrote is a good song. And if you can get over that, and then eventually get some encouragement. I sometimes think that, you could have 20 great comments about you, people, and then one person will give you a bad comment, and sometimes you can fixate on that bad comment so much. But I think that's, if you can just get over those wee hurdles and just try and keep the positivity, and maybe your glass is half full, and you just keep going forward, and then just at some point, I think, when I got my head around all that, and that I was able to do it, and that I could write songs, and that I could sing, and it was something that I loved to do, that I think that's when things really started to work better for me.
Big time. And I think, like, as well, for people listening to this, like, there's probably people who listen to this that are wanting to start a business, that are wanting to go and take something full time, and that's a great lesson in around like how you can actually back yourself and believe in yourself. And I think that's like a Northern Irish or an Irish thing, that we're always doubting ourselves. We always think that we can't really be a success at what we do. And it's interesting because there was a story when I was on holiday, and I shared this recently on social media, but it was like I was speaking to these Americans, and Americans are completely different than us in how they operate, how they act their class, because they're so positive. They really believe in themselves. They think they can do anything. And I'm sure you've met people in the country scene in America, whose Absolutely. Personality is completely different, and they back themselves so much more than we maybe do. So it's interesting to say, there's maybe an element of self-doubt when you first started. You're going full time, so it's okay to feel that way, but it's also important to actually back yourself. And Johnny's proof that you can really take it wherever you essentially want to as well. Off the back of that, I suppose we've already touched upon it, but whenever you said you took it really full time when you were 36, and what were you doing before that?
Well, I still was professionally singing, doing bars and clubs and weddings and things like that, and a lot of people. I was actually very busy. I already had a really good business model in place where I had a diary that was booked up for the next year or whatever, and I just thought that as a songwriter though, if I went to this next level, more people would know about me. And at the time when it happened, the country scene here in Northern Ireland, in Ireland, was really booming. You had some young artists coming in that were much younger than myself, and they were talented young lads and girls as well. And they had this sort of a new kind of brought a new life to it, injected such a big life into country music. And I think really, if I was honest, without those young people coming into it, even though they might have been, say, 10 years younger than me, or maybe even more than that, I possibly wouldn't have had that same chance to get into it. I just knew that getting into it at this level, that could mean like going to America and doing like Nashville and trying to write as an artist here. You go to different places in the world and write with different writers, and they'll take you more serious as well because you're an artist here and you're releasing records, and you're really and I think that's why at a higher level, everything's a higher level. Do you know what I mean? When you step up, all your musicians are stepping up, and the studios that you work in are stepping up, and the songwriters are all stepping up. And if you work with people that are always more experienced than you, I feel you will be a better person. So that's kind of how I felt that,
And it's like an environment thing, and like you're saying there, it's that with every new level, there's a new challenge that comes with that, because obviously people will put Johnny in a pedestal. Maybe someone's starting out in music and Johnny's kind of their idol, or they look up to him, or whatever it may be. And so many people, we as individuals, can then put someone also on a pedestal, but they still have their own personal challenges, their own personal struggles. And with every new level that they go to, there's also new challenges that come with that. And I've experienced that firsthand myself. And it's always important to know that everyone has their own personal challenges, but it's important to actually understand that and not look up to these people too much, and allow them to have their success, but also appreciate the challenges that actually come with that. And obviously for you, Johnny, going back to you touched upon it, your 13-year-old daughter's figuring out what she's going to do in the future. You have a son as well, and a wife, and all those things. So tell us a little bit about that, and also tell us about how you juggle being on the road, because obviously there's long hours involved in what you do, there's a lot of traveling involved in what you do, and also there's antisocial hours, what people maybe would say is family time. You're out working and doing your work. So tell us how you manage to juggle those things.
Well, yeah, that was one of the reasons as well. Also, where that decision came in, and it wasn't an easy decision to make, to go on the road full time, to step up to that level, because obviously my wife Tony, we had to sit down and have a discussion. We had a young daughter; she was only 3. He was just going to be born actually, in around the time where I started in April, and he was born in the July. So he's just 10 now. So like there was all that, and Tony would have to be at home, and I would be away a bit more. So it was a struggle, I think, whenever Shay came along, just from even tiredness aspects, and me travelling late on the road at night, and maybe staying away a night or two. And I remember even a funny story where I came back one weekend, and I was so tired. Tony had been at home with the kids all weekend, and the dogs as well. And I says to her, "My goodness, I stayed in the hotel." She says to me, Do not even go there. Do not even say I wrecked staying in the hotel for the weekend. She says, don't even mention it to me. So there was those struggles, but we got through it, and we had to dig deep, I suppose. And to be fair to her, she really, she really supported me, which was probably couldn't have done it without her help, and with the help of, I suppose, the whole team that was around me at that time. So those were struggles, but now those struggles got a little bit easier as the years went along. And the kids got up a little bit, and we, in some ways, from that aspect, I sometimes say to my wife Tony, like, we start to get our lives back a little bit, because and I was completely hands-on dad. I loved being a dad. The very early years are tough, but I do love having kids, and they're great characters, and it's one of them things, I suppose, having to talk to Freya, my daughter, last night about all these, what she's going to do, and she doesn't know what she's going to do, and I said to her, look, like, you don't have to worry about that just now, but and she loves her schoolwork and all that kind of thing, and she's very enthusiastic about it. But I just said to her, look, just try and do your best, and just try be happy within yourself, because that's probably one of the most important things. And I think that's how we got through it. We had highs and lows, but Tony was so supportive of what I did, and then therefore I tried to support her and her work as well, which I feel is a lot of work to be a mum at home, and then eventually she got back to work. And then we were able to juggle it around a little bit more, and and now the kids are nearly looking after us, for goodness sake. It's unbelievable.
Big time. And like you said, there's never ever been an individual success story. So we see this great success story today, but also there's people behind that, and there's people that have actually helped make that happen, because you can only go so far alone, but whenever you've actually got the right people around you, that's whenever it actually changes the game, and it allows you to move forward. And I suppose country music star, done amazing things. I'm sure there's a lot of common misconceptions of the rock and roll lifestyle that you maybe can actually share the reality of it. So what's a common misconception maybe people have about being in the country music scene?
Well, I think a common misconception everybody has is that, they go and they see some of the, like Nathan or Derek or Lisa or Cleona. I try to not name too many because I don't like to leave people out, or maybe they look at myself, I don't know, and they say, look, I'd love to do what Johnny's doing, and that's a great thing, because I felt exactly the same way. I wanted to do what I seen other bands doing. I wanted to try and sing like this. I wanted to try and learn this chord or write like that, and that's a great thing. But a lot of people just see that 2 hours on stage. They see the lights, and they see the PA, and they see the band, and they think it's great, and it is amazing. I want to tell you, it's amazing, and I love being in a band as much as I did from I was no size. But the misconception is all the hard work that goes in and around that. Obviously the traveling to the gigs, you're even getting the gigs in the first place, getting the right gigs, there's so much stuff, the long hours, even the financial side of the whole thing, the highs and lows of that, where you are we going to be able to stay on the road for another week or so? But that's in every business, I suppose. In fact, for me, that was a misconception for me, actually. That it was actually a business. I just wanted to go out there and play my guitar and sing and write songs and even party a little bit too, because it was great fun, and everybody thinks that it is like that. And there is times where you can do that, but then there's a serious side of it where it's the long hours and all that kind of stuff, and the family life at home, and getting home tired, and your family get a little bit less than everybody else gets. And that was a thing that I know my wife Tony had said to me a few times, that they get that, I get this, and that's the misconceptions, I think, for especially a lot of young people coming in, where they see, and especially with all social media and everything now, it's such a different thing. I sort of transitioned through where there was none of that, and then now it is, and I find social media quite difficult to sort of navigate. It's just something I don't seem to gravitate towards that well, and I'm trying my best to do that. So, but these young ones see all the, as I say, the lights and the stage, and I think there's so much more than that.
Yeah, big time. And people see the big wins, the awards, the stages, the amazing crowds that would be at Johnny's gigs. I was actually on YouTube before this, and I seen one of his YouTube videos has 1.6 million views and all these amazing things, which you maybe didn't know, but I think that's incredible. People see these highs and these wins in these people. Maybe people see me winning an award, but they don't actually realise that took 6 years to actually win that award that I won last month. And I think it's so easy to get hung up on that stuff. And also, you know, social media is a highlight reel as well. And I think we live in a world where people are so they're gravitating towards that social media world, where there's an actual real world where people have challenges. Johnny had challenge whenever he was, you know, whether or not he could put bread on the table. You know, we all went through a global pandemic where there was no gigs, there was no concerts, like, and he was just getting by at that point. So people see now as country music's back and he's able to do great things again, but also there was times there was real challenge there as well, you know.
Absolutely, and congratulations on the award, by the way, man.
No, appreciate it.
That's awesome, and
and
well deserved. Let me say, well deserved.
No, appreciate it. And outside of that, I suppose there's loads of different people watching this. There'll be country music fans. There'll be people who are looking to develop as an individual. What's one piece of advice that you give to someone who is thinking about putting themselves out there for the first time or doing something that is uncomfortable for them?
Well, I think the one thing I've learned is to be successful, I think you have to be uncomfortable. That's one thing I've learned, because so many times I've been I've go, oh, I'm not comfortable about this. I don't know if this is going to work. And, you know, so being uncomfortable is something that you have to get used to, I think, if you want to be more successful. My main thing is, and I got this from a great guy, and we're just talking about Americans, you know, I mean, I love their whole positivity and how they do it. And I was very lucky to work with a guy called Ralph Murphy. For any songwriters that are out there, he has a great book on songwriting called Murphy's Law, and it's all about sort of the fundamentals and stuff of writing, and, you know, it'll really teach you how to be a better writer. But I think, you know, he just said to me, look, Johnny, make sure the one thing that you do is that you're enjoying it and that you're happy inside yourself, because I think sometimes doing something that you're not happy doing, it only has a certain shelf life. You know, unhappiness can breed all sorts of things. So having a better sort of mindset, as I know with Every Day Unstoppable, is a big thing. And, you know, so I just think, you know, be happy is one of the main things. But definitely be uncomfortable every now and again, because if you're not uncomfortable every now and again, you're never going to get to that next level. I think you have to push yourself as much as you can.
Big time. And was there ever a moment in your career, or you're maybe standing on a stage, or you're just off the back of doing a gig, and you thought to yourself, I'm going to make this work here, you know, this is going to work for me, I'm going to be able to do this for the rest of my life? Like, was there ever a moment, or did it just kind of all compound into?
Well, I think there was many moments in my lifetime before country music, and even while I've been here, that, you know, that I thought to myself, look, I absolutely love being a singer, I love being a songwriter, and I just wanted to do it. I've always wanted to do it, and I still want to do it, even through lockdown. You know, it really, I just couldn't wait to get back to singing again, to working, to go out in front of an audience. And I think sometimes that's a natural thing in a lot of people. You know, you might see a kid at school where, like, whenever I was at school, I wasn't afraid to get up and play my guitar in the classroom and sing a song, or at the talent show I was in with that band, and I would have backed somebody else playing guitar, and I just loved being around people that were creative. You know, so I think that there's many moments, and I think when I got into country music, and as I say, I was on that next level where a bit more pressure, and, you know, being uncomfortable at times. There was times where I thought, can I still do this? I was right to the very wire many times, but then I just loved it so much that I kept pushing myself on and just getting that next gig. Let's go for this next gig. And then there was just gigs that you just did, and you were just like, man, this is amazing. You know, just the feeling was like, I mean, it's just one of the best feelings in the world. And as you know, Johnny, like, I would have an odd drink every now and again. I'm not a big drinker, but, like, I've a lot of gigs I never even drink, and it's just like the feeling that it gives me is my most favourite feeling.
Yeah,
you know, that
class.
I can.
And what, off the back of that, obviously the great feelings and the great experiences that you've had, has there been a proudest moment in your career where you've maybe topped the charts, or you've released a song, or you've done a really big venue? Like, for you, is there any that stand out? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's also a few moments for that as well. I mean, obviously doing the likes of the SSE here, Belfast, you know, 10,000 people, that's a pretty special moment. It was one point where I just kind of got the lights down and everybody put their phones on, and I just got the acoustic, and it was just like, you're back, you know, you start off in your bedroom and you go to yourself, right, I'm going to have to learn this chord, and your fingers are sore, and you can't get that one chord to even ring out properly. And then all these years later, you're standing, there's 10,000 people there and they're singing every word with you.
Yeah.
You know, that is unbelievable feeling. And one other feeling that I really loved was, and I was actually 40 when I did this, was I went to Nashville, and I'd recorded a lot of stuff here, but going into the studio environment in Nashville where the drummer, the bass player, the keyboard player, the whole band, the steel player, everybody's in their own wee area. And basically they just, you know, they've sat in the control room, like a room maybe this size, and we talk about the song. They listen to the work tape, which is just me playing acoustic, and they have their chord chart, and then everybody goes in, the drummer counts it in, and the song comes out, and you go, I didn't write that song, did I? And it was just an amazing feeling. That was one of my like Christmas morning moment feelings. And I suppose Christmas morning is one of my other favourite feelings. It's nothing to do with music, I suppose, but being a kid on Christmas morning is just one of those feelings. It's hard to beat.
It's good. It is hard to beat. It's coming around soon. Santa will be back. Outside of that, you're obviously in this position where you're doing great things, you're making great progress, and you're giving advice now to your daughter who's getting older, coming into her teenage years. If we were to zoom back to you being 18 to where you're at right now, what's one piece of advice that you would give to the 18-year-old Johnny Brady right now?
One bit of advice I would give to the 18-year-old Johnny Brady is, I think probably sometimes when you're young, you're a wee bit more afraid to do things, and I think I would just jump a wee bit more. I would be more uncomfortable a bit younger. As I say, I was probably quite sensible and a little bit worried about doing stuff, and in some ways, like I was 36 when I decided to do it on a bigger scale, and I wish I had done it when I was young, even younger again, even though I was out singing and playing and all that kind of stuff, and just really try to be as happy as you can throughout your life. And I think as well, it's very important to people that you have around you. You know, people that are around you that are maybe negative, I think sometimes that can really affect you. And I've learned that a lot from coming through my career, that, you know, just have positive people around you and just be positive. And I think that's the best way forward. And actually, I'll say one more thing. A big point in my life was when I did the Average Day Unstoppable. The feeling that I got when I did that at 45, and, you know, came from what I was doing and got into that shape, and just you know, big thanks to yourself for that, was one of my great feelings. And I remember talking to you about this, can I do this? And I was afraid to do that as well, and I said, no, do it and really start and just get stuck into it. And I mean, the results was amazing for me, and I have to say, guys, thanks very much.
There's an iconic image that will overlay on this video with a famous guitar and an open checkered shirt, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. I've plastered it all over my social media, but it's a great image. And yeah, like Johnny said, you know, him doing that photo shoot, him getting in the best shape of his life at 45, was him stepping outside of his comfort zone. And his comfort zone right now is playing in front of 10,000 people or playing an amazing gig, but that was just something different that was maybe beyond his current level of comfort that he went and did, and it was a really proud moment for him. So it just shows you, and I suppose on that point, you know, you've been on this fitness journey for a while now, you've been doing great things, people have seen great progress. I suppose, would you have any advice for someone who is doing a fitness journey or trying to lose some weight or trying to build some muscle? Like, what would you say to someone that's doing that right now?
Well, I think my favourite thing to say to somebody who's doing that right now is, I think because inside their head or anybody's head, it was the same in my head, was like, can I do it? How do you start? Where do you start? Just start. And if you get the right bit of advice, you know, something like Average Day Unstoppable is amazing because these guys know what they're doing. Johnny knows what he's doing, knows what he's talking about. And I thought myself, I even knew before, like I thought I knew a little bit more, but I didn't actually. And I learned so much from the whole experience and the people that were within that community as well. We just did a thing there last weekend. It was great fun where everybody got together and we did a session. It was awesome. So basically just make that start, and just don't, I suppose, like I said, no, don't aim for the mountain straight away, but, you know, make a small start and just stick to it, because it's been life-changing for me. I suppose we're nearly a year and a half down the road here, and it's really changed my life. My life is different because of Average Day Unstoppable. I do watch what I eat a little bit more. I've learned a lot more from my nutrition side of things, from the training side of things. I just really enjoy getting to train, and when I don't get to train, I go, oh, I can't wait to get back to training again. It gives me so much energy, And sometimes it gives me energy when I don't have any energy, because doing, like, over the summer we did a lot of gigs and my energy was low, but when I trained I just still felt really good about myself, and I think that's a cool thing to think about, you know. But get started, that's the one thing.
And you smashed out of the park. You did incredibly well, so it was good to see. A few questions now just for fun.
Okay.
A few quick fire questions. People will be interested to hear the answers to these. So, one meal for the rest of your life, doesn't necessarily need to be healthy. I know you're on this health kick now, but if you had to eat one meal every single day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Cheesecake.
Cheesecake?
It has to be, man. If we're gonna do
What type?
There's a little woman that I've ordered every year. She does cheesecake. I must get you one this year for you and Lauren. It's she does cheesecake, and it's Aero mint cheesecake, and it is unbelievable. And when I get it, I have to. I don't eat it all now, but you can freeze it, and it's great. Cheesecake is unbelievable.
Sounds good. And obviously, touch upon the gym there. What's your favourite exercise in the gym that you love? I think I know the answer. I predict bicep curls, but I'm not sure what you're gonna say.
Do you know what I actually really love is I love doing all the leg work, because I think it seems to nearly be so you really get a sweat going, and it gets the heart pumping more, and even any kind of squat or anything like that there. Although I wouldn't squat a very heavy weight, I would go more sort of light and, as we say, under control. Keep your technique going. So like any of that kind of stuff, and I do love being in the gym more than CV. I do my CV twice a week, but I find it a bit boring, do you know what I mean? But I love just being in it. But squatting and suppose any kind of leg exercise I kind of love, you know.
Love it. And you've obviously played some amazing venues. What's one venue that you haven't played to date that you would love to play before the end of your career?
The venue that I would love to play would be, everybody talks about the Grand Ole Opry. It would be kind of cool to play there. I've been there, done the tour and stuff, but the Ryman would be the original.
Where's that?
Grand Ole Opry. It's in Nashville as well.
Right.
And the Ryman Auditorium would be where they moved it was the original Grand Ole Opry, and then they moved it out of town kind of thing. And they took a little bit of the stage from there and put it into there's a little circle on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry where, like, you know, you go way back, and it's all where all the real stars sort of play. But I actually went to the Ryman to see a show, and the sound and everything, and it you just feel something. There's a feeling about it. Yeah. So I'd love to play there. That would be my favourite. I think if I ever get the chance to play there, I think I've definitely made it if I get to play the Ryman.
Big time. And what's your favourite trip that you've ever been on? Favourite holiday? Could be a holiday, could be a work trip, whatever it may be.
Do you know what? My favourite trip I've probably ever been on was my first trip that I went away when I was 18, and it was actually to Ibiza, and we went unnamed apartments. I know it was a thing that people did at this stage, because I don't know if it was cheaper or whatever happened. I actually worked in the Antrim Forum Leisure Centre when I was a kid as well, and myself and six of us all went away, and you know what, I was in tears coming home. I didn't want to come home. It was just one of those experiences, just great crack, great people, met some lovely people out there, and that was, I think, my favourite trip away, because I think it was one of those things where it's the first time that it happened, and I think that's maybe why it was. You know, I've had some great trips with the kids and all that there, and even my trip to Nashville was amazing. I've been to Nashville quite a few times now, but my first trip to Nashville was amazing as well, and that was because it was a musical journey. But and actually, when I first went to Ibiza, there was a guy there. He played in a bar called Murphy's, and it was a two-piece. He owned the bar. I'm trying to think of his name, but I learned so much from that guy in those 2 weeks just by watching him play and how he reacted with the crowd. And I stole so many ideas from him. And I took him back here and I said, you know what, I want people to think that they're having a night out in Spain, or because that sort of atmosphere is hard to recreate. So I think that's my favourite trip.
100%. And obviously this is called the Unstoppable Podcast. So when you think about becoming unstoppable, or your pursuit of being unstoppable, what does that mean to you?
I think my pursuit of being unstoppable would be, I suppose, just being happy within myself. And that's a feeling that I think Average Unstoppable have given me. I mean, I can't even describe the feeling I had when I did that photo shoot. And actually we went to the cinema just after, myself and Shay and my wife Tony. And I felt unbelievable, and at the same time, musical things make me feel unstoppable too. Getting out there and doing gigs, big gigs and small gigs. I mean, sometimes the big gigs are the easy gigs. Believe it or not, the small gigs are where you have to dig so deep, and you get this atmosphere from nowhere. And when you do that, and the gig still goes well, even if it's a small crowd, that makes you feel unstoppable. Actually, and then a big gig just is like, I don't know.
Yeah, unreal, class. And where can the people watching or listening to this find you right now? Social media or Spotify, or where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, guys, look, we're on Spotify. We're on all our music's up on all the sort of outlets. Obviously, I'm on Instagram as well, and on Facebook and all that kind of thing. I'm not an amazing social media guy, but I always try to get back to people. Anybody sending me genuine messages and stuff like that. Obviously, we're all on YouTube and all our stuff like is up there. We've got our website, just johnnybrady.com. And if you need to book us or anything like that, you know, Brendan's there, and Brendan's a great guy.
That's what I was going to say. How do, let's say someone's wanting to book a gig or a big event, what's Brendan's email? Or
yeah, Brendan's all on there. You go onto if you just go onto the website, it's just contact us basically, and then Brendan, you can send him an email or you can give him a call. And I've been working with Brendan for like 20 years now, and he's just a great guy. And you know, big part of the success is down to him as well, and even my musicians and stuff like that. So I really, you know, got a big thanks to all those guys. So if you need us for anything, we're there, and we're not fussy. We'll do anything. We're still out there to work. And
I was at a recent wedding that the famous Johnny Brady was playing at, and I was loving it. It was great. So no, Johnny, really appreciate you coming on. Thanks very much, mate.
Thanks a million for having me.
Absolute legend.
I love you,
and I look forward to hearing some feedback. And don't forget to share this with your fellow friends who you feel could benefit from what Johnny said. Thank you.